Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all for being here today. We appreciate it. Again, this is our ProLink HFA webinar series. We host this on a monthly basis, and we appreciate your time to join us today to talk about home funding sources in the development module of ProLink HFA. So for today's presentation, I'm going to cover just a brief summary of ProLink for those who might be less familiar with our company. We will then turn it over to Gina, who I'll introduce in a minute, to cover home funding sources in our dev deals. She'll then cover fiscal year allocation tracking your annual home program funds, and reporting on your home funded dev deals as part of today's presentation. So Gina Crouch is our senior project manager analyst that supports a lot of our clients who are going through implementation and onboarding ProLink HFA right now. And I'm Bree Kruder. I'm the executive vice president for ProLink. Thank you again for being here. We appreciate your attendance. And if you're a regular, we appreciate that you continue to stay tuned in with us as we explore different areas of functionality in ProLink, and ProLink HFA specifically on this one. This webinar series, it's meant to really just kind of be a tour of functionality that's available in the system. It's not training, but it's meant to just make our users and anybody who's interested in ProLink HFA more aware of what's available in the system. So about ProLink, real quick, we have supported the affordable housing industry for the vast majority of our existence. We have been incorporated for over 25 years at this point, and we support at this stage in our tenure, we are supporting state and local housing finance agencies, tax credit syndicators, and investors and developers. We're fully dedicated to the affordable housing industry. We don't do any work outside of it. And our work, we really try and start every day with the intent to build holistic and valuable systems that really connect all the pieces and people together through the origination, development, and continued provision of affordable housing. So from that origination stage all the way through your asset management and compliance, we really build systems to support all of those different stages of your deal life cycle, and the collaboration and involvement you need from others as well, whether that's your developers who are applying for different programs and tax credits, third parties you might work with, and then of course your owner agents who you continue to work with through asset management and compliance. Our team is made up of technologists. We're a software company, but we have so much longevity at ProLink, which is really cool to see. We actually had a company update meeting today where we were recognizing 23 years and 19 years and 10-year employees that have been with us. So certainly a lot of dedication from our team of technical experts around affordable housing. They speak your language, they know this business, and I'm very proud of the team that we offer here at ProLink. This is just a quick little high-level picture of the agencies that we support with ProLink HFA. So we are currently supporting 18 housing finance agencies. That does include Pennsylvania Housing and Hawaii, who are newer, going through implementation, not quite live yet, but are working through the onboarding of ProLink HFA. So thank you guys for being our newest clients. And then we also support two supportive services agencies located in California and New York. So we call this our bird's eye view of our enterprise modules for ProLink HFA. So when ProLink HFA always comes with these three areas available to all of our users. They are connected and work together to build that holistic model that I was describing earlier. So we have our tax credit allocation module in orange. We've been discussing that module through this series until actually I think that now we're switching into the development module, but until this point, from February through May, we have been talking about the TCA module, handling your LIHTC allocations and credits. Now we're switching to focusing on the development module and what functionality is available there. And then, of course, we have our asset management and compliance module. We'll probably start to focus on asset management and compliance towards the later part of the year and certainly into next with this webinar series. Okay, so moving into the meat of our presentation, I'm going to hand things off to Gina. So Gina, you can get started with home funding sources in your dev deals. And I will advance to the next slide for you.
Thanks, Bree.
Yep.
Good afternoon, everybody. So as a recap, in the 2025 HFA webinar series, our focus has been on the tax credit deals. We covered taking advantage of TCA allocation cycles utility in February, supporting state tax credit programs with program cycle type in March, managing additional credits and return credits in TCA allocation cycle in April. And now reporting tax credits with 8609s and 8610s and HFA in May. And then now we're going to turn our focus on to dev deals. So today we'll be covering home funding sources in your dev deals, fiscal year allocation tracking and tracking your annual home program funds. And then we'll wrap up with reporting on your home funded dev deals. Okay, HUD. So let's kind of do some history, learn a little bit about HUD and home. So HUD was established in 1965 under President John F. Kennedy as a cabinet level agency to allow the federal government to tackle urban problems, including substandard and deteriorating housing in a coordinated manner. HUD's mission is to create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and quality, affordable homes for all. HUD's core focus areas reside in expanding access to affordable housing, enforcing fair housing laws, supporting homelessness prevention and assistance, driving community development initiatives, and then also coordinating disaster recovery efforts. HUD's key programs include public housing to fund the local housing authorities and provide affordable housing, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, or more commonly referred to as Section 8, which subsidizes rent for low-income families. We've got the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, which supports community development activities. And then the Home Investment Partnerships Program, which is a major funding source for affordable housing at the local level. HOME was created by the National Affordable Housing Act of 1990 to provide a wide range of activities that build, buy, and/or rehabilitate affordable housing for rent or ownership, or provide direct rental assistance to low-income people. And it is a formulary federal grant program. Did you know that 1 in 3 LIHTC deals include funds from the federal home program? It does. And an interesting fact about ProLinkHFA, the most common funding sources being used and tracked among our clients are LIHTC, Home, HTF, and the state programs. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Okay. You should be able to see my screen. So I am using ProLinkHFA's demo UAT site today for our demo. So let's start. Let's start by adding a funding source to a development deal. So first I'm going to show you how to add that funding source to a dev deal. And then I'm going to show you how an administrator type of person in your organization would get that funding source into the system for you to use. So just know I'm doing this a little bit out of order, but it's so that you've got some context into what you'll be doing with the funding source. Let's start. Okay, so from my dev activities, I'm going to select a deal. And for today, we're going to use, where is it at? Arundel Apartments. So I'm sure that many of you know this already, but adding a funding source to your deal is a fairly simple process. So the first thing that we want to do once we are in our deal is edit the deal. And we're going to update our fiscal year. Oh, it's already in 2025. So we would normally, let's say this says 2018. So we want to make sure that the deal fiscal year reflected is going to be 2025. And as we go forward, you will see this and understand why. Wait for it. All right. So from here, underneath the deal budget, I'm going to go to deal funding. So we want to add our funding source to this list here. So we're going to go to New. And we're going to update our funding source. And today we're going to be using home rental development. And then for the program type, we're also going to use home rental development. And then we're going to put an amount, let's say 300,000. We're going to save and return. All right. So now we can see the home rental development program, our funding source, has been added to our deal. In this view, you can also see the full capital stack that makes up the funding sources for the deal, including a calculation down here that totals all of the funding sources within the capital stack. So now you might be wondering or asking yourself, how did our home rental development funding source get added into the system in the first place? Well, great question. I'm glad you asked. Let's look at that. So we're going to navigate over to utilities. And then under dev, we're going to go into funding sources. So just so you know, ideally, this isn't something that you'll necessarily be doing. This is something that an administrator type of person within your agency will be responsible for setting up. But just in case you are setting up your funding source and you go to the drop down and the source that you're looking for isn't available, you are going to see what it takes to add it. And that way you can go to your admin person who does this so that you can get it added. So we're going to go to New. And then we're going to add our funding source. So we're going to call it Home Rental Development. And then for the purposes of this webinar, we're going to do -webinar because I already had this created and it's already existing as part of a couple of reports. So I want to make sure that I show you how to do this, and then you can see it next to the one that we're actually using. So our source type is going to be other, and then we're going to click the checkboxes for HFA dispersed, HFA monies, as well as active. And then we're going to save. Oh, sorry, save and return. I meant to come back out. All right, so now we've got our full list of all of our funding sources, And when we scroll down, we've got the rental or the home rental development that I selected on our deal. We also have the home rental development webinar that we just created as a funding source. Let's see. So if you were to go to the, actually, sorry. So now what? So how do we track our funding sources for the current fiscal year? So that's a great question, and it's easy. So we want to start in our utility section, and we're going to go to the fiscal year allocation tracking section of HFA, and then we want to create new. All right. So from here, same thing. We're going to select our home rental development for our funding source. We're going to select home rental development for our program type. We're going to use fiscal year 2025. And then we're going to use a budget amount of 8.9 million. And then save. All right. So from this screen, if you toggle over to the Dev Deal Funding Sources tab, here we can see all of the home rental development funding sources for the fiscal year 2025 listed here, and all the funds that have been reserved to this point totals the 3.45 million, and it includes a total of 12 deals. Okay. So now let's go to the Dev Deal Funding Sources tab. Actually, it was right there. One of the things, if you notice when we first started, the first thing that I changed on our deal was to edit the fiscal year to ensure that it showed 2025. And I did that in preparation for this so that we can see our deal right here in our program allocation view for the home rental development funding source for fiscal year of 2025. So now let's look at fiscal year allocation tracking again. All right, so one of the things that I do like about this view is it lets you see everything within, for all the fiscal years, all your funding sources, as well as you can see what the allocated budget was for each of the funding sources. You can see the total amount that was budgeted for each of the funding sources, how much has been closed, what's been reserved, and then what's remaining within the amounts from being reserved. That's wow. It's our allocated budget amount minus the reserved, and that's what's giving us our remaining. Okay, so if you are looking for excuse me, I lost my place. Okay, so the funding allocation tracking allows you to look at the funding source for the full year. So let's create that. So right now we've got all of these funding sources, but we do not have the 20. We do have the 2025 home rental development funding source that we created that has the allocated budget of $8.9 million and the total reserved amount of the 3.45 that we saw in that last view after we created this funding source. And same thing, if you want to get more granular, you can click into it and see the specifics for the home rental development. And then that's where we were. So on this screen, you've got your budget amount, and then you've got the allocated amount, the amount that has been reserved for the different deals that you have going on. And then when you, on the dev deal funding sources screen, when you click into there, you've got the list again of all of your funding sources, the total number of your deals, and then the breakdown back here. So when we back out of here, we've got a couple different ways if you want to see something specific. So let's say if you want to see only 1 year and nothing else, we can do that. So let's set up a view for that. So one of the ways that I like to do this is within your view manager. So you can do a couple different ways. So I like the lazy way. I like to use an existing data view that I like, that I understand, that the fields already make sense to me. Or you can create net new data view here and just start from scratch. So these are the default columns that are going to come over. You can remove columns from here and add new columns from here if you want. But let's show you my cheater way. So I clicked on the all years, and then from here, I'm going to create a copy. So I'm going to click on copy. And I'm going to call this fiscal year 2025. So I like all of these columns the way they are. I actually wouldn't mind maybe moving this down. And then I want to go over to our advanced filter here and fill in the criteria. So within these columns, I want to make sure that I am only seeing fiscal year 2025. So for the field, I'm going to select fiscal year. So this is the column that I want to make sure to focus on. The operator is going to be equal to, and then 2025. We want to make sure that that's all we're going to see in our view. And now we are going to save and close. So now when you have your drop down, you scroll the way down, and here is fiscal year 2025. This is the data view that we just completed. And this shows you all of your funding sources for fiscal year 2025, including our home rental development funding source that we created today. So same thing, you can click into any one of these to get more granular details and information, or just see it from the high level viewpoint here. Let's see, another way that we can do this is, oops, let's go back to the all years view. And let's add a filter. So we're going to turn our filter in grid on. And I want to sort just by 2025. And I'm going to click the filter button and equal to. So same view that we just created. However, this is piggybacking off of the existing view. If you don't want to create a data view, that's fine too. And I'm showing for 2025. So if you log out and come back to this some other day, next month, next year, whatever, this filter will still be here. It will be here until the time that you remove it or update it or change it, whatever. So just know that this only filters for your view. It won't filter for anybody else. And then to remove the filter, we're just going to click the filter button again and click on no filter. And now we've got our full data view back. Another way that you can also do this is by dragging and dropping these columns, the headers. So we can filter I'm sorry, we can group by the fiscal year. So I'm going to grab and drag and drop and here, and then you can see the little arrows there. Let me put it there. And now you can see every year is broken out, and then you can view just the specifics for that. You can collapse as you go, or you can leave just like this. Either way, if you don't want this anymore, just take it and drag it back over. And there you go. So we've learned how to add our funding sources. We've learned how the funding sources get added into the system every year. Especially for home, it's usually going to be like an annual thing, and it would occur after the governor allots how much funds are going to be going to each agency. And then we've learned how to sort our views with the filter function as well as with a grouping function. Um, so now that we've got all of these, we've, excuse me, we want to look at how you'll be reporting on your home funded dev deals. This is always important. So we're going to go to our data views. And then underneath the dev section, we are going to go to deal funding. And then in our view, the home funding reporting, this is what we want to see. So within this data view, you can look at all of your deals that you're using for the home funding source. You also have the ability to include more attributes about the deals themselves with the addition or removal of columns. So same thing, you can click on your view manager and then pick the view that you are looking at, and then you can create your new one and then update this according to what's going to suit your needs. And then you'll save that. Or same thing, you can filter it. So you click the turn filter on, or you can group it and drag and drop up into this section here. So you've got the I was going to show you this. If you also, so one of the things that would be helpful is if you wanted to view by county so that you can see all the counties that you're serving and the funding sources within each of those counties, drag and drop up there. And then we've got it broken down here. The other way is, I don't know, I think a good way would be to see by total units. So same thing, we can drag and drop our total units up here. Wait for it. And then we've got the units listed this way, and you can see like that. So you've got multiple ways of viewing all this data and all the information, and it's just a matter of finding what's going to work best for you. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. If you need anything else, let me know. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Bree.
Thank you. All right, let me just share back the screen and we'll wrap things up for today. Gina, thank you very much for presenting. And yes, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in Q&A or the chat. We have people monitoring both of those. You can follow up with an email if you have any questions or comments about what we shared today. So thank you very much for joining on that part. I just want to wrap up by introducing next month's webinar. So Joe Cherry is a senior consulting manager, part of our professional services team, also works very closely with new clients coming on board with ProLink as well as existing clients. And he's going to cover setting up the dev module for new funding programs. So we will have that event on July 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Some of the topics he'll cover are setting up dev to manage new funding, using Smart Docs to create a new developer application, and then using Procorum to facilitate program threshold requirements. So those are all use cases that are currently done by many of our clients today. If you're new to your organization or new to ProLink, we definitely recommend you join us for that one. And I believe the link to register has been shared with you in the chat. So we'll see you on Wednesday, July 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern for that one. Have a wonderful rest of your month and 4th of July before then, and we'll see you back here on the 9th. Talk to you then.